Can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's Monday, June 16th. It is the last week of school for many, many of you out there. It's the Daily Puck Drop. We come live every single day at 10 a.m. on Twitter, YouTube, Puck Sports mobile app. Then later, the show is all podcasted up on YouTube. Just search Puck Sports. And then all on your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And, of course, you can find everything up at pucksports.com. We're broadcasting from the Limbeck Lumber Studios. Contractors, they offer free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. They're going to take care of you. Why? Well, because they've been doing it since 1930, so they're old school. Give them a call at 206-782-3487. Visit my friends at Limbeck Lumber. Tell them I sent you. They're going to actually make you pay more. I'll be honest with you. LimbeckLumber.com is the website. Follow me on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, really all of them, just a home of good feelings and positivity of social media, is it not? Just search Puck Sports there. And again, visit pucksports.com. Coming up, we'll talk about the Mariners sweep there over the weekend over the Guardians. I was there on Saturday night with our baseball team. It was fantastic. MLB blockbuster trade. Bill Krueger joins the show. That will be coming up later. Boy, does he have some thoughts on Julio Rodriguez. Mick Hoffman, the executive director of the WIAA, caught up with Mick on Friday. And actually on Thursday, and we talked to Mick about the sanctions coming down to Roosevelt High School. Football sanctions on Roosevelt got hit real hard. Their head coach, former Seahawks defensive tackle Sam Adams. What led to this decision? What was going on? What did the investigation find? By the way, for anyone out there that was affected by the 3A state semifinals baseball with the lighting issue over in Yakima. We touch on that at the end of the show there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, though, without further ado, he joined us on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. He's not in Bend. He's on the road. Jim Moore is back on the road, and he's all brought to you by...
Hey, Puck, live from Toppenish, Washington, home of Mount Adams Country Club. There's a lot of construction going on around here, and I'm not sure how this is going to go. But I'm brought to you by A Clean Streak today, professional window and exterior cleaning service out of Oak Harbor, Washington, proudly serving Island and Skagit counties for more than 10 years. You know all about Brian Turner. I had text exchanges with him this weekend. He wanted to see my outdoor setup, so I shot a video for him. But Brian and his capable crew, they're going to clean everything you have. Your patio, they'll pressure wash it. Your driveway, they'll pressure wash it. They'll clean your roof. They'll unclog your gutters. They'll wash your windows. They do it all. So for a free estimate, give them a call at 360-395-5748 or visit acleanstreak.com.
Toppenish, Washington, founded in 1884, incorporated April 29th, 1907. It's located in the Yakima Indian Reservation, established in 1855. Did you know, Jim Moore, Toppenish calls itself the City of Murals? Why? Because it has more than 75 murals adorning its buildings. How about that?
I did not know that. I know it's about 5 or 6 miles from Wapato, Washington, home of Dan Dornick Field, okay?
Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan, yeah. Yeah, look, and I'm propping up my iPad with a book that I'm going to read to my granddaughter here when I get to see her, Dumb Bunny's Easter. You got to check that out. And here's where I am. I'm broadcasting live from Mount Adams Country Club. They're working over there, probably wondering what the hell I'm doing. There's the driving range over there. So there you have it.
What do you think the cost is to join the Mountain Baker Country Club there in Toppenish? What's the charge there?
Mount Adams. I don't know. The guy though, when I checked in, they're out in the trailer right now, and he goes, can I get your password for your Wi-Fi for, I'm trying to do a podcast today. And he goes, what's a podcast? And I'm like, well, shit, man. I go, I love you that you don't know what a podcast is. He goes, oh, no, I know what a podcast is. Yeah, whatever. But I don't think he's ever listened to this one.
Washington.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It's good to be here, though. It's about, I don't know, 3.5 hours from Bend. We're going to play Apple Tree. Mikey and I are going to play Apple Tree today.
Oh, okay. Well, where's he at? Is he with you?
No, he's an hour behind me.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
starts his internship tomorrow. So, yeah, he's got his internship tomorrow. Stevie's already started his. It's funny as hell to hear what the kids are doing, because they have to commute to Seattle for the first time. They're going from Bellevue to Seattle. And, I'm thinking, well, geez, Dad did that for like 30 or 40 years. And Stevie's already counting down the days where he doesn't have to do it anymore. So he's getting a taste of what the real world is like out there with a bunch of brake lights.
Hey, buddy, I don't know. It's miserable. I made 3 trips last week. 3 trips there we go. There's the construction. 3 trips last week.
Hey, you guys want to quiet it down a little bit over there?
Hey, can you just tell them, hey, we're trying to do yell at the construction workers. Hey, we're trying to do a podcast.
Okay. Hey, we're trying to do a podcast over here. God, all these guys could kick my ass, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Be careful. There's people in Toppenish I don't think we'd want to mess with, all right?
Yeah, I know.
And Puck Sports can't bail you out, all right? We can't.
Oh, my God. And if they saw my toenails right now,
you got them painted.
They would probably kick my ass.
You got a pedicure, did you not? Let's see them.
Wait, can you see them?
Not really. I just see the gravel and I see your crotch. Now I see your calf.
Wait, there. How's that?
No, I still can't see it. A little bit. Oh, there you go. The hot pink.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that for your granddaughter.
Did that for my granddaughter. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Things you'll do for your granddaughter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it her birthday? Is that why you're going up there?
No, I'm going up there because I got my annual phys. Things start breaking down. I'm going to be 68 here pretty soon, and got to get my eyes checked. I'm starting to think I'm feeling like I'm seeing things when I like turn to the left. Kind of some little motions like this. And then my annual physical, and then periodontist cleaning tomorrow morning. Yeah.
You're just knocking
Teeth
it all
are breaking
out.
down, the eyes are breaking down, and we'll see how the annual physical goes.
There's just a gentleman just walked by you. Is that one of the guys you yelled at? Want to get him on the show?
Want me to ask any of these guys if they've ever heard this podcast?
No, and I want you to ask, what'd you make of JJ Spaun's 64 4-foot putt to win the U.S. Open? I wonder if they all watched it. I mean, you're at a golf course. Maybe they're golf fans.
Yeah, they don't appear to be working very hard right now. I said that really softly though. But then they're looking at me going, well, you don't appear to be working very hard either.
The first time someone just gets shanked on a live show.
No, actually, 10 o'clock though, that's break time, right? When you start at 8, usually you have a 10 to 10:15 break.
I'll be honest with you. I've never, I'm not a big manual labor guy. Look at me. I don't know when break time was.
No, I think when I used to work for my dad, you would take a coffee break at 10 o'clock. And so that's appears what's happening right now.
I want you to yell at him. Guys on a break still?
No, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Hey, here's what I don't understand. You already
Can I get a cup of coffee over here?
Stop. I'm telling you. Stop. They are not going to screw around.
This setup is, Puck, what I do for you is unbelievable.
I know. It's great.
Look at this setup. I mean, I just have a folding chair here. And everything. Look at this. I mean,
no one's better than you. No one's better than what you do for this show. It really is. I appreciate.
Well, no, but Divish does it from the furniture store, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I had last few he has not. So I'm not sure. Maybe he got fired for it. And you know what? Unfortunately for the Havre North Stars, their winning streak is over.
Oh,
they finally lost the game.
Oh, that's too bad.
But I thought they ran their winning streak there to 12 games. So good for them.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right.
Well, did you win any money on JJ Spaun?
God, I did not. He was not one of the 17 players that I had. One of them was Terrell Hatton, and at one point he was tied for the lead, and I thought, God, but I knew at some point that his temper was going to get the better of him.
And it did. It
Yeah.
did. What was
God,
that?
if he had just hit a good drive on 17 or anything that left him in the trap rather than where he was.
17 was where he was on the bottom of the hill, and then he hit it into the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and where he slammed his club, and he was trying to unearth the ground. And
yeah, he just needed par there, and it's a birdie hole.
Yeah.
But no, it was, I gotta tell you, because I wasn't a fan of, seeing these guys chop it up and struggle as much as they did. But I found it really interesting yesterday watching that tournament. I mean, I don't know how it could be any more entertaining or interesting than what it was yesterday, with the rain delay and then coming back after that. You had the choke element with Sam Burns. And then you had, I was talking about it with Mikey, and I think most people would agree with this, including you. I know we don't agree on many things, but usually when a guy goes south, like J.J. Spaun, 5 bogeys in the first 6 holes, then that player is usually done. You
Never
don't hear
recovers
from him. You don't see him on TV anymore because he's not a factor anymore.
Mm-mm.
And yet, after the rain delay, he came back and other people struggled, and he ends up winning the tournament with that fantastic putt. It was just, if you go south, you usually don't go north again until the next tournament. And you don't do it in the same day. But what J.J. Spaun did yesterday was just awesome. And then seeing his wife and kids and all that. Yeah, it was, I ate it up and wanted more. I wanted the playoff is what I wanted.
He said that his caddy, when they blew the horn at 9, said this is the best thing that could happen to us right now. It's the best thing. We need a reset right now. And it's funny because do you remember this? It's the same thing that happened at the Players. Same thing that happened at the Players Championship. Same thing. They stopped it, and he came back and he caught Rory McIlroy to force the playoff, which he ended up losing to Rory. But it was kind of the very similar situation. But he was great, man. Those last 2 drives on 17 and 18, with everything on the line. I mean, you're going to remember the 64-footer to win it, and I mean, just the absolute golf god luck that he got with Victor Hovland hitting it in the exact same spot as him, but 2 feet behind, so he could sit there and watch Victor Hovland give him the perfect line. But the drive on 17, and I mean, especially 17, but even 18, knowing that he's got the lead and he just needs to hit it in the middle of the fairway, and he did, and just great. And he's kind of a very low-key player. He's always been a very good player. You won a couple of years ago, and the Players this year was going to be his big breakthrough, and then he couldn't pull it off against Rory. And but you know what? Credit to him, to what you said in the beginning. He didn't allow those first 5 holes to completely wash him away. It affected others. He has a very even keeled temperament to him. Never high, never low. He doesn't really show much emotion at all until after he made that putt, and it just kind of all came out of him.
Well, yeah, and you talk about the golf gods being good to him with Victor Hovland. He could go to school on that putt on 18. But how about like at number 3 or 4 or 5 or wherever it was, where he hit that shot that hit the flagstick?
I think it was 2.
If it was it 2, number 2,
I think.
And then if it doesn't hit the flagstick, he's within 5 feet for birdie, and it hits the flagstick, and then it rolls all the way back to the fairway. So, I mean, the golf gods giveth and they take away. Too. So it was. No, it was fascinating. It was really fun to watch. And then it was perfect, too, for people who have one TV, which, I've only got one TV in my outdoor setup. But the rain delay was perfect because then you could watch the Mariners. And then once the Mariners were over, you still had 5 or 6 holes of the U.S. Open to watch.
Right. It was good for you. You didn't stick around to watch Tiger 2008 at Torrey Pines, huh?
No, I wasn't watching the replays. No. Was that the Mediate one where he beat Rocco Mediate? Yeah.
You said something earlier, and I agree, but then I'll partially disagree with you. You said Sam Burns choked it away, which I agree. There's an element to it. I think he got hosed.
Oh, on that, when they didn't give him relief from that, where the ball was drawing water,
because that's where it ended. That's where his tournament ended on 15. Listen, he's hitting in a puddle of water, and I know no one wants to hear these players. Oh, you're a professional, blah blah blah. Okay, yes, I agree with you. He's in a puddle of water. The ball is going to come out differently when he's sitting in a puddle. And it was evident that it was a puddle of water. Why he didn't get relief, he asked not once, but twice for relief and didn't get it. That to me, oh, there we go. Balloons are going off in the live show. I don't know why that. It's a mistake by the USGA. I know they want to make it tough. I know they want a true test and all that. That's not a true test. It's unfair.
I agree. I was surprised. I thought he handled it really well.
Oh,
I mean, Hatton would have gone off. And how about Wyndham Clark probably would have torn up the hole. What Wyndham Clark did he should be banned for a while from playing PGA tournament golf.
Okay, I missed it. I must have missed Wyndham Clark. What did he do?
He damaged 2 lockers in the clubhouse.
Oh, I didn't see
And this
that.
is the same guy that broke his driver. I mean, we've all hucked clubs and helicoptered them before, but I don't know, Wyndham Clark. Yeah, take the pictures on video or on Twitter and all that.
I didn't see that.
But I thought Sam Burns handled it really well. He didn't, but then after he hit the next shot and then he did the flop shot that didn't work out.
Well,
and it was unfair what was going on with him. And yeah, that's probably a little too strong to say that he choked because, I mean, that course just eats you up. But he was the guy. I mean, you thought, he had a 2-stroke lead at one point. And you thought, well, okay, Sam Burns is going to break through here. We've all known if we follow golf how good Sam Burns is, but he's always kind of been on the cusp of being really, really good.
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to be his breakthrough day yesterday, and it just didn't work out for him.
He's always just been like, he's always kind of been Scotty Scheffler's friend. That's kind of what Sam Burns has been. I think you're right. He handled it perfectly after the round. I even think during it when he asked for 2 different, rules people to come over. My favorite part is when he hit it and he hits it left and clear. You see all that water come up. Is that he takes his club like 2 or 3 times and hits the ground just to show. And he's looking at the rules guys. He's walking by, looking at him as he's hitting all the water, saying, "See, look at all the water I was just standing in, and all the water that was in here."
I think it was the hole before that, or 2 holes before that. He had to hit out of a divot too. It was a small divot, but still. And then he hit a great shot. So it didn't bother him, but that's the worst rule in golf, even for the professionals.
It's terrible. If you hit the ball in the fairway, you should be rewarded for hitting the ball in the fairway. And when it lands in a divot, that's not fair. You should not be penalized for that. And why this dumb sport that we love has not figured that out, that's a scratcher to me.
If you hit into the rough into a divot, okay.
Sure.
But if you hit it in the fairway, that's where you're supposed to hit it, and you feel good about hitting it there, and then you come up and you see it in the divot.
Yeah, why do you get penalized for that?
I don't know. The pros can hit out of those divots, though. We can't. I mean, have you tried hitting out of divots before? Usually I move it.
Well, I always move it.
I try to see what it would be like, and it comes out squirrely. It just goes off on some weird direction.
That's squirrely is just my middle name. Hey, speaking of the U.S. Open, we've got our standings after 3 of the majors for Puck the Picker Majors Pool, all brought to you by Synthetic Turf Northwest, syntheticturfnorthwest.com. Hey, I know Father's Day is over, Jim, but you can still get your dad a late Father's Day gift by getting him a brand new synthetic turf lawn installation, also a putting green. Your dad, you didn't get him enough. All right? The card where it just doesn't say anything, that's not enough. The socks, not enough.
The card says something.
It just says, "I love you, Dad."
The card's the most meaningful part of Father's Day, isn't it? Where your kid actually, the kid actually sits there and goes, "God, I got to say nice stuff about Dad now."
Yeah, but they don't really say much. It's just like, "Hey, I love you. Thanks for being a great dad."
They will as they get older. I mean, Mikey had a heartfelt message to me yesterday.
Well, thank you. Well, that's great for Mikey. So, leaderboard is there. Brendan Limpis. I can't say Brendan's name. Brendan, you're the leader right now in Puck the Picker Majors Pool. Again, all brought to you by Synthetic Turf Northwest. David Feller and Jason Siller, Tony Rajic, and Trent Buchanan all tied there for second place. And we got a 3-way tie there. Ended up for 6th place with Theodore Bartlett, Alex Evanson, Jake Nelson, and Michael Christensen. So there you go. That is the update on Puck the Picker Majors Pool. One more to go, Jim. The Open Championship And then we will crown a winner, the Open Championship coming up, Royal Portrush, next month, July 17th. Again, big thanks to Synthetic Turf Northwest, syntheticturfnorthwest.com for sponsoring Puck the Picker Majors Pool. So that's the U.S. Open. It's over. It's brutal. That is a brutal, brutal golf course. I mean, just brutal. People were just livid. What was it the 11th hole where Burns and Scott were just playing tennis across the green?
Yeah, it's so strange to see those guys. And then after the rain delay, and you just think to yourself, okay, the rough was tough enough, but then to add the water element to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. I just, and then I don't get the members there. If you're a member, how could you enjoy playing that course? I mean, you probably, think it's pretty cool that, you're a member at the toughest course in the country, but what fun is that over the course of a summer to play that thing?
I get you. It was fun though. Saturday night at the Mariners game, we took our what? That was a good transition.
I like how when you change the subject, it always is kind of seamless, but kind of not. Like
I thought that was seamless.
I said, I don't know how much fun that would be playing there at Oakmont. Yeah, but you know how much fun it was Saturday night when I took the Vampire and Mary Lou to. I mean, that's just a sign of a professional podcaster right there.
Yeah, I think
you're just able to shift the focus to something else.
Yeah. Well, we took like
Stelton. Stelton across the street. He's kind of an amateur because he always says, meanwhile. Meanwhile, what do you mean, meanwhile? That's not going on right now, Bob. It was yesterday. Yeah. Meanwhile means something else is going on right now, but he uses meanwhile all the time. God, if he listens to this, he's
why are you giving Rockstar Bob stray arrows right now? He doesn't deserve this.
No, I love Bob.
Leave him alone.
He gives me one of the best nicknames, and it's not just me. It's anyone that he kind of, has derision for or, is kind of critical of. He calls them, well, excuse my language. I'm going to just swear one time, but he calls them fucko. And I just love that. Yeah, he'll call me fucko every once in a while. Oh, okay, fucko. You don't like meanwhile, huh, fucko? I'm like, yeah, well, okay, Bob. I love Bob, though. I love Bob Stelton. I listen to Bob. The show's not as good without me, but, I do listen to Bob. What do you want me to say? You want me to say the show's better without me? I mean, there's probably some people who say that, but whatever.
All right. Well, meanwhile, at the game on Saturday night, we took the Ballard All-Star team there, all the boys there. I want to give a big shout out to, I don't know if you know Chris. You know Chris DeWitt. Chris has been working in the Mariners clubhouse for God knows how long. I mean, it's ever since back when I was actually covering the team. So that's like, I don't know.
I probably would know. If I had a picture of him, I'd say, oh, yeah, okay, that's Chris DeWitt. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I started covering that team in 2003. I don't know when Chris came, maybe 05, 06. He worked his way up. Now he runs the Mariners clubhouse. Great guy. So we took the boys down a little bit early, right when the gates opened up, got in there, and then we took them down near the dugout. And Chris, shout out to Chris. I know he listens and watches. He was great with the boys, gave him a bunch of, seeds and, big tub of bubble gum and baseballs. It was really cool. And then we watched, then we took them all up to the 300 level. So, because when you got like 11 and 12-year-olds and some 11-year-olds, you need to be away from people because they're menaces. So we took them up to the 300 level, like to the very, very top, kind of behind home plate, which I love it up there, by the way. I love the 300 level. Yeah, it gets great views up there. You got the batting cages up there. You got the pitching machine. It's a little less crowded, which is nice. I just don't like walking up is fine. I don't like walking down. You feel like you're going to fall over and like tip over. But
you get a little vertigo going down.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, a little bit. But it was fun, and we saw a great baseball game. What a route! Our boys got on the jumbotron during the rally time with the shoe on the head. They're doing that, and it was that was a fun night. Fun night of baseball, and that was a great win. A great win. How many times? What do you think Julio thought when he sees that they intentionally walked J.P. Crawford to pitch to him?
I wondered about that at the time. Yeah. Seriously, you're going to walk J.P. to get to me? And yet the numbers kind of bear that out. I know a lot of people being critical of Julio not coming through in the clutch, and he didn't come through in the clutch. So they made a good call to walk JP there, but then, they had to face Polanco too. So it worked out well for the Mariners. But, Yeah, I think a lot of people are torn in town on Julio, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and it's Bill Krueger, and we have Bill Krueger on every Monday. You're going to hear it coming up here in a little bit, and we record it in the morning, and we talked a lot about Julio. And I would say, some will say that Bill at times can be overly critical of Julio. I don't know if he's overly critical. I think he's fair. I think he's fair about Julio. I think the question is this. I think it's been a big topic, and it's always going to be a big topic with him. It feels like there's two camps. There's like a pro and anti-Julio camp. I think, one, you can be in the pro camp of Julio, which certainly I am in, but also look at him and go, I thought he'd be better at this point in his career. And I think that's okay to say without you being like a hater and you don't like him. My expectation of where I thought Julio would be after his rookie season and then the follow-up year, yeah, I thought at this point he'd be kind of the face of baseball. A real like superstar. And he hasn't gotten there yet. And I think he's still young. He still can get there. But I would think this is a negative word. I think he's plateaued. I think it's fair to you question whether or not he's maybe slightly underachieved since breaking onto the scene. Is that fair?
Yeah, but isn't it weird to say that? Because they always flash up the graphic saying that Julio's hitting 370 in the last 10 or 12 games, that type of thing. Had a 3-hit game not too long ago. And so, yeah, maybe we're being too critical of him. But if you took 10 clutch moments when Julio steps into the batter's box, how often does he deliver?
I agree with you.
It's not 0 for 10, but it's certainly not 7 for 10 either. It's probably 2 for 10, 3 for 10, something like that, maybe.
And I agree with that. And I know people will flash up numbers and they'll go to Baseball Reference and say, no, you're wrong. Here are his numbers in late and close situations and all that. I'm just telling you, we walked out of that game. Everyone's excited on Saturday. And one of the dads and I were talking. I just said, it just doesn't ever really seem to come through in those moments. Just doesn't. That's my perception. I can't recall too many times where he's had, game-winning hits where, if you ask somebody, a Mariners fan, about Cal Raleigh, I mean, there's just countless times that he's come through in the clutch with big moments. And I think Julio has missed that a lot. He hasn't come through in those situations as much, certainly not as much as Cal Raleigh has. But I will say this. So when someone hears that, they're going to be, oh, God, you're so negative on him. Here's the thing I love about Julio. First person to run out to congratulate Polanco, Julio Rodriguez. Biggest smile on his face, jumping up and down. That guy is one of the best teammates I have ever seen on a team. He's always supporting his team, regardless of what happens to him. And he plays the game with that youthful exuberance that you want everyone to play with. Everyone. So, I mean, just to make it clear, there's a lot to like about the guy. But I also think at the same time, there is this expectation that he would be a little bit better than where he's at. And it's not like, Jim, he's had a poor season. You look at his numbers. Among center fielders, he's number 2 in baseball in WAR. In almost every category among center fielders, he's top 10 in everything. So it's not like he's having a poor season. I just think people probably thought he would be, I don't know, maybe this is, and I know this is unfair, that he would be like in a Mike Trout kind of esque point right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I noticed that too. I mean, he was the first one out there to celebrate with Polanco and the pig pile and all that stuff. And, if it had been Kelnick, that probably wouldn't have happened. If it was Jared Kelnick, he would have been kind of pouting a little bit that he wasn't the one that came through. And it's like, oh, I got to go out of the dugout anyway. But the other thing, I really thought he was going to come through this time because that's really disrespecting you when you walk someone in front of you. Oh, yeah. And you to get to me, seriously, I'm Julio Rodriguez, and you're going to walk the guy in front of me to get to me? Well, I'll show you that was a mistake. And yet it wasn't. He struck out. We would have bet. I said to Mike, I bet he strikes out here. And sure enough, he struck out. And that pitch was right down the middle that he struck out on, too. To not even foul it off. But, yeah, I suppose. I feel bad. He's only 24, and, who the hell am I just sitting here, being an armchair baseball guy trying to criticize Julio Rodriguez. But I think it's fair to say that he's really good, but he's not great. Is that okay?
Yes.
He's not great. He's just not great. But he's really, really good.
Yeah, and I think that I think people, I know a lot of people bristle with that, and I will say this again, it's hard to be like, well, I mean, come on, he how do you, like his at bat? I mean, it was an at bat that he at least he fouled off.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't foul anything off. I mean, the guy's throwing 100 miles an hour. It's I mean, he's an absolute beast. I just think that, for him, the guy scored from third against him, right? Didn't Dylan Moore scored from third during that at bat, correct? Am I correct on that?
Oh,
one?
he did. Yeah, it was a wild pitch. And Moore read that perfectly. You know? I mean, that ball didn't get away from the catcher that far, and yet Dylan Moore read it, and it was a nice time to have him out there running.
I was hoping he'd come through in that situation. I think everyone, the entire stadium is chanting his name, and everybody wants him to come.
That lessened the pressure on him too. Since you brought it up, I mean, the game was tied at that point. Then,
right.
When he first stepped in the box, they were down 1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they need him to be a little better in those moments. And you would think, when the spotlight's shining the brightest, that he'd come through more often than he does.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you this before we let you go and be on your way and leave beautiful Toppenish, Washington. How much do you remember of Johnny O'Brien?
I don't really. That's even before my time, Puck.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember much. I mean, I remember about the O'Brien brothers, Seattle U, and certainly remember the name. But as far as a recollection of how great he was, I never really saw him in person or on TV or even heard about him on the radio that much.
What I was just reading, Scott Hansen did a story on him this weekend, Seattle Times. Of course, if you don't know, Johnny O'Brien passing away at the age of 94. Just he and his brother Eddie, just two fixtures in this community. Guys that played at Seattle U, led them to an incredible 90-17 record while at Seattle U. They couldn't even play as freshmen. They go on to play pitch in Major League Baseball. I love the story how they both were cut from their junior year of high school basketball. Didn't make the team. They go to a game. The other team doesn't have enough players. So the coach at their school looked to the stands. Hey, is there anyone that can play? The O'Brien they come down. Yeah, we'll play. They play. Next day, the coach of their high school gives them uniforms. Okay, you guys can play. And then they go on to be, incredible athletes. And then the story of how they landed at Seattle U. They weren't offered any scholarships. They're playing, I think, in this like semi-pro baseball league. And as Scott details the Seattle Times, go read the story, seattlettimes.com. He just does a wonderful job with the story. That there's the coach of the other baseball team is also the coach at Seattle U and the basketball coach. He sees these two guys like, my God, these guys are great. Johnny gets to first base. He tries to slip him a note like, hey, write down your address. I want to send you something. And that's how they ended up. And eventually they did. And eventually the O'Brien brothers, they get something in the mail from this coach from Seattle U, weeks later, and inviting them out there. And that's how they landed in Seattle. And just, you just hear that name, Johnny and Eddie O'Brien, and it just has such lore in this area.
Well, yeah, legendary names.
Yeah.
You think back on it, and 94 years old, but Seattle U in this town right now, they're kind of an afterthought.
Right.
But boy, did they have a hell of a basketball program. Going back to Elgin Baylor, I mean, I can think of some of the names there, John Tresvant, and the rivalry they had with Washington. That was always a must-see game whenever Seattle U played UW. And it was just really fun, that rivalry they had. And then you go to like Rod the Rifle Durline out of Elma, and then Frank Olenek. Oh my God, Frank Olenek was something else. And they called him the Magic Man before Irvin Johnson. So it was, Seattle U back in the day, they had great basketball teams.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Texas State is.
Are you going to start using that all the time now?
Oh yeah, I am. It's
He's going to call you Bucko too.
Yeah. Texas State, according to Pete Thamel, is the heavy favorite to land in the Pac-12. Now, hold on. Now, I got a buddy who's in the oil business, who's been to San Marcos many, many times, says it's great. Says we'll love it. Says it's unbelievable. Says it's a great place. So,
okay, why? What is
Just a
it
great
on the
college
ocean? Is it
town.
on the ocean? Is it on the Gulf of Mexico or something? Or
there's a river, and I think that goes through. There's a lake by. He just says it's a fun town. And
Okay.
It's perfect for our conference. So, all right, I'll warm up to the Bobcats. I'm in.
They're heavy favorites.
Heavy favorites.
God, can I bet on the underdog, whoever it is? I like that it's still kind of in the West.
All right, whatever. Hey, we got into Texas for that fertile recruiting ground.
Yeah, well, we need one more football playing school, so I guess that's going to be
Texas State. It's the Bobcats. Let's go. So,
all right.
It's gonna happen soon because they have a buyout from the Sun Belt. July 1st is a buyout. It goes from $5 million to $10 million. So it likely is going to happen here in the next.
What's your excitement level for the new Pac-12?
It's
basketball, thumbs up, 2 thumbs up.
I mean, they said football,
football, 1 thumb up and 1 kind of sideways.
For sure, it's lukewarm, but because it's not all the other schools that I've grown up with, and it's just going to take a while. It's going to take a long time for me to get super excited about it. But here's what I am excited about it. The other option was nothing, and not have anything. You know what I mean? And then have the school completely and the program kind of go away. And that was, unfortunately, you're staring kind of out of a reality. So it bides them time in this new little conference to kind of, float a little bit. And who knows? In 5 years, it's completely different. Maybe they're all back. I don't
Could be.
know.
I still think Cal and Stanford I don't think they're happy about their decision to leave.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get them back. But it's going to be interesting to watch our attendance this year. We struggle with attendance most of the time anyway. We've talked about the reasons because of hotel prices. But,
yeah,
that place next to the old European, are they going to be able to charge $500 a night when we're playing Toledo and Louisiana Tech? I kind of doubt it.
Probably.
We'll see. Are you going over for those games? Because I'm not. And does that make me a bad Cougar fan?
No.
I got to admit, it's going to take me a while to get used to this because, Toledo's not USC or UCLA coming in there to Pullman.
It is not. It is not.
Jeez, that's a hell of a point I just made, wasn't it?
It is a great point. Yeah.
God, I didn't know that, Jim. Toledo's not USC? Really? God, no wonder Puck has you on Monday, Wednesday.
Well, I was going to ask you about your thoughts on the Rafael Devers trade, but I know you want to keep those to yourself until Wednesday when you come back on to really hit the Devers trade. I will just say this: what they gave up, could the Mariners not have done that? Because it doesn't seem like they gave up a lot for this guy, and they just took on his money. So the question is,
and the Mariners, I think let's see, would they let him play third base?
Yeah, I think.
Are you sure? Williamson's probably better defensively, though.
He probably is, but I think Ben Williamson would understand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Williamson would be like, "Oh, you guys want me to go over to first? Okay, I'm good.
Or whatever. Just I'll play anything differently. All right, we'll cut you loose. Thank the fine folks at the Mount Adams Country Club there in Toppenish, Washington. Get a card. Let's pump them up. Let me know when the course open. Let's promote the Mount Adams golf course when they're up and running. But big thanks to the old crew there for letting you sit down there and have the podcast.
Okay, I'll thank them, Puck. And you can play out here. So I'll personally thank this guy walking by right now. You want me to do that?
I would. Yeah.
I'll personally thank. Hey, sir, can I thank you for something? I'm doing a podcast right now, and thank you for letting me. Here. What's your name? Ralph. Ralph. Here's Ralph. See Ralph.
Hey, Rob.
Ralph, stoop down a little bit.
Oh,
Rob. Hey, Rob. How are you?
Yeah.
Hey,
good.
Puck
How about
Sports. Are you a big fan of the daily puck drop every day at 10 a.m. on pucksports.com?
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but
Yeah.
I'll look it up. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
This guy's a superstar right here.
Okay, right on.
He's
Cool.
a superstar.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Rob. Great work.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. See you. Go Cougs, Puck.
Go Cougs. We're big in Toppenish. See you, buddy.
Yeah. All right.
The Daily Puck Drop all the way to Toppenish, Washington. All right. Big thanks to Jim Moore. I'll be back on Wednesday. Yeah, that Devers trade, that is not knowing all the minor league guys that were into it, but one of their outfield prospect who seems to be the best prospect of the two, James Tibbs. He was the 13th overall pick in last year's draft. He's not tearing up the minor leagues. 246, 12 home runs, 32 ribbies. Third-rated prospect that was in the Giants system. The other one was the pitcher Jose Bello, who's 20. Only he's played in 8 games for the Giants rookie league. But the two pitchers that they gave up, Jordan Hicks is, been a disappointment. Jordan Hicks was a starter. They've moved him to the bullpen. And then Kyle Harrison, he's a good young left-hand pitcher, but a 4.4 ERA over 39 games in the past 3 seasons there. It just does not, on the surface, seem like a lot that they gave up. And even Jim Duquette talked about it on his show yesterday on Sirius XM, channel 89, by the way. And he'll join us tomorrow, give us breakdown that this was just the Red Sox saying, we don't want him anymore. We're out. We're going to kind of take any deal. This is a great deal for the Giants. This is a great deal for them. And he's going to hit in that ballpark. And he would have hit in this ballpark. So maybe the Mariners never had a sniff that he was available. I don't know. But it just seems with the prospects that they pump up in this organization they have and the pitchers that they have, that they could have given a hell of a lot better of a deal to the Boston Red Sox for this guy. Maybe the Red Sox say, we're not going to deal with anybody in the American League. We don't want to see him in the American League. Ship him to the National League. There could be some of that. Probably a huge factor for the Mariners never getting involved is the money. He's got probably, it's like 8 more years. It's like $200 million left. So that's a turnoff. They'll never, that's probably the number one turnoff. They're never going to dance with that at all. Despite like all him, refusing to play positions and all that. This guy's one of the most dangerous and best hitters in baseball. All right. He joins us every single Monday. William Krueger, Old School Baseball. Follow him on all the social media channels, old_school_MLB. He is a long-time presence in baseball around this area. He tells it how it is. We talk a lot about Julio today, kind of piggybacking on the conversation that Jim and I had. We record him early in the morning because he's got an actual job to do. But we love having him. I love having him on. Bill Krueger, every Mondays, Old School Baseball. Check out his brand new podcast that's out on all podcast platforms. Joins us every Monday to talk baseball. It's Old School Baseball with our guy. He's not old. You know what? He's young at heart. Okay? His age may be old like a lot of us. But he's young at heart. Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball. Find it on all podcast platforms. Old_school_MLB. That didn't sound right to me. At Old_school_MLB. 13 years playing professional baseball. Mr. Krueger, how was your Father's Day weekend?
It was really nice. My daughter came up from Tacoma, and we had a really fun day on Sunday, just cruising around and had a late breakfast, brunch. Just it was an idyllic weekend because we had her for the whole weekend, and just enjoyed company. And they treated me, nicer than I probably deserve.
Well, the baseball team, I don't believe that. I think you should be treated as nice as you possibly could be. The baseball team, Bill, 4-3 since we last talked. They got a sweep here of Cleveland recently. Their pitching was very, very good. What changed? They weren't playing good baseball. They come back home after not looking good at all. What were they, 1-5 on that road trip, and then they sweep the Guardians. What changed? What looked different in that Guardian series to you?
I think it's a number of things. They restabilized their pitching. It was unstable. Kirby finally turns the corner on the road trip. Bryce Miller goes down. Had a couple of uneven performances. It's a combination of restabilizing their frontline starting pitching, playing teams that aren't as offensively capable. Cleveland's just not as good offensively as Arizona. And that's a good example because Arizona's got a really good offense. And you combine that with maybe a bullpen that was a little bit beleaguered. And they got home and played their game. It's not like they were juggernauts at home. And as I've said on Old School Baseball coming into this series, that I felt like they would regroup and they needed to play a lot better at T-Mobile Park because they're built for T-Mobile Park. And they rolled out some solid starting pitching. Their bullpen had a big collective breath before they started this series. They're able to get to the right guys when they needed to, and they pulled a rabbit out of their hat. They beat Class A, and they beat the Indians, the Guardians in one of those games where they hadn't been beaten since the beginning of last year with a lead going into the 9th inning. So that's a bit of a rabbit out of the hat. So that helps you win a series. And they got some clutch hitting. They won without Cal Raleigh being the guy. And that's an interesting topic as we sort of discuss where this team is headed and what the league is starting to do to Cal Raleigh.
Well, tell me, what are they doing? What changes have they tried to do to go after him?
I think they're going to dodge him a little bit. They're going to pitch him carefully. They're going to pitch him backwards. They're going to do all kinds of things. They're going to make him hit right-handed. We've seen it happen already where they're just, Rodriguez, they'd rather pitch to Rodriguez. You saw it in the game with Class A. 2nd and 3rd and nobody out, and your superstar got walked. I mean, they pitched to Rodriguez and then walked Raleigh. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe that was prudent because you got a right-hander on the mound, but you're going to see it time and again. They're going to stay away from Raleigh if they can, or they're going to make him hit right-handed, which means Rosarina and Rodriguez are going to get some chances to hit left-handed pitching, which they probably can handle a little bit better. They're just, hey, look, as we start talking about where this team is headed and what they need to get better, and of course, what happened over the weekend, correct? The idea that they need a potent bat to help Raleigh it's obvious. It's obvious what they need. Okay, they do. Because I don't think either one of those guys could do it. They are, in my opinion, complementary athletic players that have moments. That's our Rosarina and Rodriguez. That's who they are.
How would it was the game? I was there Saturday. What you just mentioned, where they elected to. Was it they walked JP, right, to get to Julio, right? Yes, they walked JP to get to Julio on Saturday. How would you, if you're Julio Rodriguez, when you see that and all the expectations that are on you, it's not like, and listen, it's not like he's having a bad season. He's having a good season for him. But how would that make you feel?
Well, I think it deepens his resolve for sure. But it's just sort of like when you're, you can have resolve, but if your house ain't made of bricks, then the big bad wolf's going to blow you down. If your house is made out of straw and wood, because the foundation's not there. His hitting foundation is not there. He's totally up there using his gifts, his God-given gifts to hit, because his pitch selection and the way he approaches every at bat, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. I watch him and I say to myself, is he deciding before the pitch that's the one he's going to swing at? Because we watch him swing at balls that are way off the strike zone and take balls down the middle. Now, he does get his hits because people throw him slider speed type velocity in the middle of the strike zone, and that's when he's able to get a ground ball base hit, unless he absolutely dead guesses and gets a ball down the middle on the first pitch of an at bat, and that's the ball he hits for a home run. That's not hitting. That's not professional hitting. I'm sorry. He needs to be able to see the baseball. He needs an idea where he wants the ball, and he needs to be in hitting position. I watched lots of. I've been around the game a long time, and just because I didn't hit a lot in my career, but I hit a lot more than most pitchers, I think I have a clear idea when I'm looking at a hitter what the heck is going on. And we're all going to say, well, he's a second half hitter and he'll get hot. Well, maybe we'll get to August and pitching will get tired and he'll see some beleaguered second-tier teams and he'll go 9 for 10, or he'll go 13 for 12, like he did that 1 year, 2 years ago. Yeah, maybe he will. He's talented. He's uber talented, but his bat position and his approach to the hitting zone and his pitch selection aren't good enough. I wish they'd get better. I think he's a solid, I don't know what's going on in his head. I mean, there's a lot of pressure for sure, but it's not happening. He plays kind of like a big Ichiro. He gets a lot of infield hits. If he couldn't run, what would he be hitting if he couldn't run? 220. He's
So
got
what-
9 doubles. He had 17 doubles last year.
So what is preventing him from how you view why he's not more of a doubles machine?
Because he doesn't get a good ball to hit, and he doesn't know what he's looking for. And he's not short enough to the baseball. So he has to make an earlier hit decision. His swing is long and powerful. So when he does get on time, the ball jumps off his bat and he hits balls 120 miles an hour. So what? Those guys on the tour that can't make it, they're in Vegas playing for $5,000. Driving the ball off the back net. Yay. Are you playing on the tour? No, you're not. This isn't about that. It's about being shorter to the baseball and have a clear idea what you're trying to do when you go to the plate. You should this is a poor example, but I played with Jose Canseco. And Jose was so strong and so talented that you would ask Jose, who's pitching today? He goes, I don't know, and I don't care. What's he got? I don't know. I'm not saying that Julio doesn't care. He just doesn't look like he's got a real good plan, and he's not short enough. He's too long to the baseball. You either go really fast, which pound him in with a fastball, or you go really slow, or you make him chase. If I'm pitching him, I'm throwing fastballs in for a strike. I'll make him chase off the edge of the plate, make him bounce the breaking ball, I'll climb the ladder. I ain't throwing him anything in that 85 to 90 mile an hour speed range in the middle of the plate. And and that's the only time he can do well. If actually somebody does that, or he guesses fastball and he gets his bat out on time, and then he looks like $1 million. But that's not hitting.
So do you think it's his preparation before the at bat, not having an idea of what the pitcher's throwing, or not having an idea of how the pitcher's going to attack him, or what his plan as a hitter is? Is the cerebral part of the game lacking right now for him?
Hard to say. I mean, he plays with tremendous enthusiasm. He's very team driven. He plays hard. He runs balls out. He plays a very good center field. All these things suggest that he's all in, but he's got a forward press where his hand position is, and that makes his bat longer. And not everybody can hit with that kind of forward press. There's very few guys. I played with Gary Sheffield. He forward presses the bat, but you couldn't sneak the sun past the rooster with that guy on the inner half. And another guy, Julio Franco, that had 2 fingers down on a 36, 7, 8 ounce bat, and forward press the bat as well, and you couldn't sneak it past him either. But those guys are few and far between that can do that. What I mean by forward press is if this is the bat position here, and I start to do this first, that makes the bat go like this. What happens is you have to go from there back to here, then to the ball. That makes you slow to the ball. I'm going to speed you up or really slow you down.
Why Crawford has a similar position?
Yeah, he does.
Why is it effective for him though? Because I'm with you. Like I don't like it. I remember I was watching some youth baseball players swing like that. I'm like, don't do that. It's to what you said. It's going to take you too long to get through the ball if you have your hands like that. But for Crawford, it works. Why does it work for him in that position of the bat in his hands?
I think Crawford's a smart hitter. He's got great hand-eye coordination. He knows what he wants to do at the plate. He anticipates. So he can – not a lot of pitchers can pitch in, He can be beat in because he's either hunting a breaking ball or he's trying to hit the ball the other way. He gets in good counts, and he'll you've seen him. He kind of has that same kind of I'll hunt the first pitch and try to hit it 8 miles. And then when we get into the count, I'm going to hit the ball the other way. I don't know. His swing path is shorter, even though he's got a forward press. I mean, how else can you explain it? We've been watching it for a while now, Jason. I think the common fan can kind of see it, what I'm talking about. Otherwise, it'd be getting a lot better now, wouldn't it? There's no reason for this guy should be getting better. He should not be flagging. And everybody's going to say, well, he's got 10 homers and he's hitting 270. It's so much better than he's been in years past. But I'm watching him and I'm seeing I don't see the improvement. Now he's got talent. Oh my goodness, does he have talent?
Well, they have got to be seeing the same thing though, right? I mean, he's got the best right-handed hitter as a hitting coach. I mean, they've got to be delivering the same type of message, correct?
Well, Edgar's he's not ever present. I mean, he clearly has I'm sure, worked with Julio, and some of these things about getting on time and some of the things I'm talking about, they have to have been worked with him on. And I think when you've already gotten paid and you've already reached that point where everybody says you're a superstar, then maybe your ability to kind of listen to things and make those kinds of changes. Players have to get to capitulation before they change. When you're in the big leagues, you have to hit the wall where you're falling off the cliff. And I think he thinks every day he's going to get hot. The next day, I'm going to get hot. I'm going to get hot. I'm going to get it going. I'm going to get hot. But underneath it, there's a bad base. There's a bad base underneath it that's going to not allow him to get to where he needs to be able to get to be a great player. And the journey is not easy. But when you look at Cal Raleigh, for example, Cal Raleigh had a lot of holes. He had a lot of chase in his game. And what's happened with Cal is he anticipates better. He thinks through the at-bat. He kind of starts to think what guys are trying to do to him. And he'll get an off-speed pitch, and even if he might be slightly out in front, he keeps his hands back. But he makes a solid pitch decision, and he swings the bat at pitches for the most part in the strike zone. He doesn't look like Julio. Julio sometimes will swing at a ball that looks like it's going to hit him in the face. He did yesterday. He had two balls that almost hit him in the face, and he swung at him and hit meek ground balls. And I may be blending the bats together. But you just don't look like that when you're that kind of player. Cal Raleigh has squeezed the holes down, and he's trickier to pitch to. Because if you repeat the pattern, he picks up on it. You go slow, slow, and you go one more time slow, and he takes the ball and puts it off the Hit It Here Cafe. You know, that's what he does. He's gotten so much better at shrinking the hole, and now people fear him. They are walking him. His on-base percentage is going to go up. He's going to be one of those guys. And the troublesome thing is that he's going to have to stay disciplined and hope those two guys can hit so he could get better balls to hit, I guess.
Yeah, Julio's just an interesting figure to discuss, right? He's very, very polarizing, I think, among people that cover the sport and certainly fans, right? And I think there's some truth in a lot of it, because if you look at his numbers, and I was just peering it as you were talking, just looking at Fangraphs. I mean, you know, again, for center fielders, he's top 10 in almost every category that there is and I just looked at center fielders. I mean, he's got the number 2 WAR right behind the guy with the Cubs, Crow Armstrong. So he's number 2 behind him. So I think, and I'm just going to read or try to, I guess, decipher what you're saying. It's not like he's having a poor season. I don't think anyone's saying he's having a poor season. And by all accounts and stats and metrics, he's having a very good season. But I think what you're saying is he has the potential to be an elite player, and he's not playing at that elite, like, superstar cover of MLB The Show video game, right? That's what we're talking, because that's what we think and we hope, and he still very much has time to do this, that we hope that's the player he becomes. And he still is yet to kind of crest that mountain.
I think it is. You know, to try to come up with comps, I'd have to think pretty hard and fast about guys that I'm really familiar with. The guy that just came to mind is Eric Davis. Eric Davis was just a mercurial talent. I mean, he had really low handset, and people challenged him above his hands, but he had some stretches where he was pretty awesome, right? He ran like the wind, and he had a lot of power, but he never really materialized into what I would call a great player, a superstar. He had a couple nice stretches in there, and I'm not trying to undersell Eric Davis, and that may be a poor example. Mm-hmm. You're right. He plays a defensive position, so he gets bonus points. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that he should be in the corner? If you had a good center fielder, he'd be in the corner. Eventually, he's going to be in the corner. But he benefits from being in center because it softens because he gets the chances to make plays against the wall. You know, that's what center field gives you. It gives you plays. And when you make a wall play, your WAR goes up exponentially. Your defensive metrics go way up. I mean, that's not the whole game of playing center field. And I'm not saying he's playing a poor center fielder. But is he the best center fielder in Mariner history? Is he second best? Is he the third best? He's probably the fourth best, isn't he?
Fourth?
Gutierrez, Cameron, and Griffey are all better than him defensively. Maybe we cornered the market on center fielders.
Who'd you say besides Griffey and Cameron?
Gutierrez. Better
I'd
defender.
have to do I'd have to do more of a dive in that one. I'm not sure about that one.
Maybe. Well, I mean, it's difficult when you get paid. Where in all major sports did a player of his age and experience get paid that kind of money after one half of a season of playing in the major leagues of whatever that sport is? Name one.
But let me just, I can't off the top of my head, but let me just ask, why do we hold that against him? He didn't, they gave it to him. I mean, the ownership gave it to
You're
him.
right.
I mean, it's, and like,
He'd be a fool not to.
Right. What player would say, no, I haven't proved anything yet, so I'm not going to take like life-changing money for like my family and my kids and their kids.
You're right. He was smart to take the money. He salted multi-generational money away. He secured his future. When you come from a very poor background to have it hit the lottery like that, and it's not as if he didn't deserve it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's a decision the club made, and it may have been a little bit premature because when you're trying to develop a player, you want to kind of see him play through his mistakes and grow as a player a little bit. And as I always say, play with your hair on fire a little bit and just be a young, really talented. And maybe there's a little bit of that. I'll show you. I'll show you how good I am. You're not paying me yet? I'll show you, because they had plenty of time before they had to make a decision on whether or not to pay him. And they were only thinking they've got this guy who's going to be incredible. And the sooner we put the money on the table, the cheaper he's going to be, because we know these deals continue to skyrocket. And he's going to look like a steal. And as a club, we love marketing around a singular player. That's been a very, very big part of how the Mariners look at their promotional piece to their team. So you're right. He should have taken the money, and good for him. And are you seeing the progress? I guess that's the question I'm asking as a layman. Are you seeing the progress?
I would say this: as we left the game on Saturday, we were there, and thrilled that they won, and just everyone's losing their minds. I did the one of the other dads we were with. We took our baseball team down there as a group to go watch it Saturday night, and we just said that, God, it just doesn't feel like he comes through in those situations. And I know someone's going to look at his numbers and say, you're wrong. He's got a great batting average with runners in scoring position late in games. I'm just saying, if I don't look at the stats and look at the numbers, there's just too many times where I see him come up in a situation like he did on Saturday, and he doesn't come through. Now, if you ask me, Cal Raleigh, I can sit there and just go through a million times I've seen Cal Raleigh come through in situations like that. So I would say, as the guy that burst onto the scene, that had just that incredible rookie season, has it improved marketably since then? No. I mean, he hasn't. I thought he would be in a better position now based off that rookie season that he's in. But I also don't think it's been, and I'm not saying you're saying this, I don't think other people are saying this, that he's been some type of failure at all. I just don't think he has taken that next step or two that I thought he was going to take, that I think a lot of people are still waiting for him to take. I mean, he was on the cusp of, the next superstar in the league. You're talking, getting to potentially, Trout-esque fame. And I think he's plateaued. And for whatever reason, he's plateaued. I don't know. But, again, he's still so young that it can all work out for him. I mean, yeah, maybe with the money, I think maybe with the pressure of the organization, there's probably a lot of that stuff that goes on. But I think there's a lot of young players that deal with that. But yeah, I would say that right now, I would say he, based off that first season, he's moderately underachieved or just plateaued, I guess would be the best way to put it. I think that's fair.
The club is asking a lot of him because just look at the makeup of the team offensively, right? Those two guys have to be really productive, and that really focuses the attention on him. And he had a very good rookie year, and the next year he hit 30 some odd homers and turned the All-Star game on its ear. But since then, it's been a slide, in my opinion. So can it get better? Sure, it can get better. I think he has a desire to be great.
Yeah,
And he
I
has a
agree.
wonderful attitude, and he plays to win, and he's a great teammate. And he plays the whole game. But there are just some things there that just don't seem to be getting a lot better, and that makes him less than what I think we all thought he would be by this point.
Mhm. I want to move on because I want to ask you something about Hancock.
Yeah.
I just want to piggyback on a comment you just said. I would want young kids to play with the passion and the energy that that guy has. He runs out to the field, how he interacts with people in the stands, how he celebrates with his teammates. He was the first guy to find Polanco after that game-winning hit. Even, despite him not coming through, listen, there's other players that maybe sulk and like, well, I didn't come through on that one. Yeah, I'm happy he did. I mean, it happens. I mean, players are like that. But he's not. He was the first one to run out there and to celebrate. If he plays the game, he, quote, is still kind of a kid, young adult. He plays the game like a kid, plays the game like in some back park in the Dominican Republic. And he's just, and I don't think that's ever going to leave him, which is a, very powerful thing I think that he has there in his back pocket. Emerson Hancock, what does he do? What makes him so effective when you watch him pitch? What do you like about him so much every time he takes the ball every 5 days?
Well, I think he's been allowed to understand who he is as a pitcher. That he is not a nasty breaking ball, try to hit the top line fastball pitcher. He's a sinker changeup pitcher. He knows exactly who he is as a pitcher, and he pitches with a real good feel using those two pitches and using the breaking ball on occasion. And he has a good arm, and he pitches in the strike zone and induces bad contact because he's got a lot of movement on his fastball. And both his fastball and changeup really they work together well. They're tough to pick up. And I think he's absolutely what you want as a starting pitcher. I mean, there's a lot of great attributes there. He and Wu both pitch inside the strike zone and win at bats inside the strike zone. And both of them don't have, even Wu, there's always this sort of like, Wu's a great pitcher, but boy, he doesn't strike out a whole lot of people. And I'm like, God, I just get frustrated by your stupidity, because he keeps his pitch count down. He induces balls that aren't hit really well because his ball moves. The difference between Wu and Hancock is actually Hancock's a little safer as the game goes along, because Hancock doesn't try to win at the top of the zone, and that's the one thing that Brian Wu has still got to learn. He's got to learn, where's the fastball need to be when I start to get to that point in the game where it may not be about trying to beat somebody upstairs. And he hasn't yet learned that. He's given up a lot of dramatic home runs in the middle of games. I'm not trying to put Emerson as being a better pitcher than Wu, but he's really found himself as a pitcher. And I think I see a guy that was a number one pick that got hurt in the minor leagues, and that he's got an edge to him that sort of says, oh, you don't think I can pitch? I can pitch. You watch me. I can pitch. You want to send me down? Fine. I'm going to get better. And when you give me another chance, I'm going to really pitch. And I think he could have pitched through the middle of some of those games. They yanked him at 70 pitches and 60 pitches and 81 pitches and 78 pitches, where he's got the kind of makeup and the kind of stuff that plays better in the 6th and 7th inning, where maybe you can't huff and puff and blow everybody's doors out. It isn't always about top of the line spin, top of the line spin, top of the line spin. Can you think? No, I don't think at all. I just go to the top line and spin. Pitching is more than that. Pitching is being able to throw the ball down and away at the right moment and get somebody to hit a ground ball and get out of a game, because the 8 guys behind you are pretty good. Otherwise, it would be Eddie Fenger, the great softball pitcher. Are we going to have that? Is that what we want baseball to be? A center fielder, a shortstop, a first baseman, and Eddie. Is that how we're going to play baseball? And we can talk about whiffs. We can talk about strikeouts, and that's the whole game. And we're going to hit a homer, or we're going to strike out, or we're going to strike out, or we're going to walk. I mean, baseball is so much more than that. And when you get efficient starting pitching, it makes the game. we go to the two guys at the end, and more times than not, you're going to win.
Well, he's fun to watch, and he's done a hell of a job since filling in for all the injured guys. With Miller and Kirby and Gilbert. And Gilbert goes and makes his re-debut tonight against the Boston Red Sox. Folks, he is never shy on emotion and opinion, and that's why we have him on every Monday. Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball. Find his new podcast on all podcast platforms. Just search Old School Baseball. Follow him on social media, old_school_MLB. He does videos every single day with his glasses on. Not sure why he doesn't wear the glasses on this show. Next week, I'm requesting the glasses to be on. Thank you, William Krueger. A happy post-Father's Day to you, sir.
To you as well, Jace. Fun morning and exciting series coming up. Can't wait to see Logan tonight.
Thank you, Bill. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
There he is, Bill Krueger, with us every Monday. We catch him early in the morning and then let him go out and do his actual work. But it's one of the best guests we have every week talking baseball. He does not hold back his opinion on the team. And whether you agree or don't agree with his assessment on all things, especially when it comes to Julio Rodriguez. I mean, he puts in the time and effort, and it's okay. You can still like a player, still think a player is going to be good and has the potential to be great, because that's what we're talking about with Julio. It's not just that Julio's good. Is that we want Julio, and more importantly, Julio wants to be great. There's greatness there. It just he has yet to kind of, I think, capture that greatness. He's still young and still has time, and I think that's what Krueger's point is. It's not to say that he's a bad player. Certainly he's not a bad player. Not at all. That's furthest thing from the truth. It's that when is he going to be great? Like great, because he has that in him. Physically, mentally, emotionally. He's got that physical, or he has that trait to be great. Big thanks to Bill Krueger. And again, his podcast, Old School Baseball. Find it wherever you find your podcasts. Check him out also on social media. There on Twitter. He posts things daily, old_school_MLB. Well, we talked about this story last week about the Roosevelt High School football program. Hit with a bunch of sanctions by the WIAA for recruiting violations within their football program. Falsifying addresses, using a federal homeless act to get a number of kids, anywhere between 20 to 25, to their school. An investigation found that they had abused that. They were fined, suspensions. Since then, the principal has been placed on administrative leave by the Seattle School District. Probably some more falling out is going to happen to that football program. There's no doubt about it. Mick Hoffman is the executive director of the WIAA. I caught up with him on Thursday. We were going to play it Friday, but then I decided to hold off on it and play it today. We talk a lot about this investigation. It's a long one, about 30 minutes here with Mick. Investigation into the program, what led to it. These high schools, they self-govern themselves. Is that the right decision? This homeless act that they had violated, how is it easy to violate this rule? We also talk about the baseball semifinals that were taking place in Yakima at the very, very end. It affected our high school, Ballard High School. 3A consolation games were canceled based to a lighting issue. But the bigger conversation with Mick was, are there better venues than this stadium in Yakima? Better venues for a championship baseball semifinals and championship game. It was over the phone, so no video to it other than Mick's smiling face that I'll put up there. Here he is, Mick Hoffman, executive director of the WIA, talking to us about what led to the heavy sanctions on the Roosevelt High School football program. Joining me right now is Mick Hoffman. He's the executive director of the WIAA. We've had Mick on many times back in the old radio days. I believe this might be the first time, Mick, you've been on the brand new Puck Sports and the Daily Puck Drop. Welcome in.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I guess I wish I was talking to you in maybe better circumstances. You and I, we've got a great love for high school sports, but what transpired yesterday in the ruling from the WIAA on Wednesday is the unfortunate side of high school sports. Roosevelt High School was issued several punishments, sanctions due to football team recruiting on their head coach, assistant coaches, athletic director. There was a forfeiture of games and also bans for their athletic director and then principal, or at least a fine on the principal, and then even the Metro League and Seattle School District were punished as well. Let's start back here in terms for Roosevelt. When was this brought to your attention that maybe something awry was going on with the Roosevelt high school football team?
Yeah, I mean, we first started to get some contact from some school personnel and then some like anonymous back in late winter, early spring last year, that there was a lot of movement. They're alleging movement of students and alleging recruiting back then. And so I'd have to look up the exact dates, but it started February, March, sometime in that range.
What was your findings that you did with the WIAA? There was one investigation that you did, but then on top of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you hired also an outside group to look at the findings. Is that correct?
Well, typically the WIAA doesn't do the investigation, right? And that's what's probably most disappointing in this whole situation is the WIAA is a very unique situation. A lot of people assume, NCAA and those kinds of things and the professional leagues that we're familiar with. Ours is truly set up as a self-governing system. And so it's really up to the integrity of the system is based on the work of the member schools. And so when we get accusations that come in, we have a process, a little more formal process the last few years that we've implemented, and there's rules specific to this in our handbook that of who timelines and who the schools report to. So the school did the initial investigation, and then they report to their league, they report to their WI district, then they report to the district directors, and then it comes to the executive board. And as it went through that process, questions started to come up that were going unanswered at either the WI District 2 level, the C-King, definitely with our district directors, the 6 regional boards, and then the executive board. And so the executive board has the authority by rule to appoint a fact finder. So the only investigation the WIAA board was responsible for was the fact finder, which they tasked the staff, right? So we go do that. The initial investigations were all done by the schools, the school involved.
And the school involved, that would be who primarily would lead that investigation for Roosevelt?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. From my perspective, it appeared that it was led by their principal primarily, working with her staff. And so, again, each school is structured differently. It can be an athletic director in some, it can be a district athletic director in others. Honestly, I don't have a firm answer for that based on we still don't have complete details to that level of who did what as far as specific parts of the investigation, but the representative from the school had consistently been their principal.
Does what it seems like it doesn't seem like it, it's a conflict of interest. I mean, if your school is under investigation for recruiting violation or any type of violation, and yet you're the one put in charge of it, it can lead to where the investigation really wouldn't be that forthcoming or truthful. Does it cause you and the WIAA to rethink how you would do this in the future? Does it need to be taken away from the schools and immediately go to an independent investigation?
I mean, it would potentially expedite, but it's also kind of the beauty of the system. I always tell people we are like the WIAA is like the most true democracy I'm really aware of, in that there really is local member control. The rules are made through the process. And yeah, there's times because the members, right, think citizens question, the members within our association, they're acting on the knowledge they have, which may not be as much of a complete picture. They get to make the rules, we get to implement them. So yeah, there are times for efficiencies, like the Oregon model would be more efficient, but there's also times in those top-down models that they're not as efficient. And so in a situation like this, there's checks and balances built into the system. And, you know, it took a while to get there, but eventually as that local, you know, self-investigation, self-report went through the system, and there's the ability for others outside of the school, and then outside of the school district, outside the league, outside that WIAA district, to ask questions. And if they're not getting answers that they feel are complete, then there's the fact-finding process. So yes, it takes a long time. People get very impatient, but you can see by the penalties, if the board feels that the integrity of the system was compromised along the way, there can be consequences that go back and address what was allowed to happen during that process, if that makes sense. So yes, it's very messy. It takes a very long time, but also this is showing it can be very thorough.
Does the WIAA and the districts that were looking into it feel they were lied to or strongly misled by the principal and athletic director at Roosevelt?
You know, I don't want to speak for others what they think, but I do know in the discussion, the word deception was used a lot, that, you know, what was found by the fact finder did not align with what was shared at the executive board meeting in September. So as far as, you know, recruiting or other questions that were asked. So whether those statements, you know, at this point, the facts are what are being acted on, and the why there's such a difference in what was shared in September to now has not been addressed, despite requests for information and opportunity to share throughout. So the board acted on the information they had.
Mick, is it fair to ask why Danny Thompson, the athletic director, principal Tammy Brewer, head coach Sam Adams are still employed by the school?
Well, I mean, you know, first and foremost, I don't, you know, and I have no idea, right? I'm sure that, you know, most of our experiences, even when we have member schools that make mistakes, is they do a lot of things really well. So I'm sure there's, you know, they have a lot of success in their career and day in, day out duties. And so as an employer-employee relationship, Seattle Public Schools would have to answer for that. You know, were there issues with this? Obviously, based on the action taken by the board. So, you know, as far as that is not our place. We don't get involved. You know, a lot of people, when they're mad at a coach, they think we should go in and fire the coach. That is not our place. Our job is the coach following the rules. How they coach, so no different than how they administer their effectiveness and what they do. That's up to their employer, which in this case, Seattle Schools.
Yeah. So they would. How much communication would you have with the Seattle Public Schools on this case? I'm just, if in your words they were being deceptive, the athletic director being deceptive, I think the question is a very important one. Why does, if they are being deceptive, why do they get to remain at their school and at their job? It would seem like that's not the type of person you would want working and being an athletic director for kids in a high school in a public system.
Yeah. Well, first, one thing, right. If it came across, I didn't say Danny or that he was deceptive. What the board felt was they asked questions about recruiting. They asked questions about an academic support. Is this available to everybody? We were told they were, you know, the answers were no recruiting. We don't recruit. Danny wasn't at that meeting. So that's why I want to be clear on, you know, that was Coach Adams was there, their attorneys were there, Pat McCarthy was there, and the principal was there. So they were the ones answering those questions and not being evasive, but I couldn't even tell you exactly who answered in real time on those. But what was taken away by the Seattle Public Schools answers in that meeting was we didn't recruit, and our academic supports are available to everybody. And when the fact finder went out, they were able to get, multiple statements from people that show recruiting did in fact happen, and that the academic support was advertised specifically to football players to start. And so that's where I'm saying that maybe things had changed by then, but they felt like, they should have known that what was found by the fact finder had happened before that. Now, whether Tammy knew that, or Pat knew that, or the coach knew that, or the attorney, that's why I'm not saying that any individual was deceptive, but the information from Seattle Schools contingency in general did not align with what the fact finder found.
How many students or how many football players are we talking about here? I've seen reports from 20 to 25. Yeah,
the facts that we have today, and again, we have not gotten all the information requested. So again, this is what we have is we're aware of 18 transfers in, and originally the school district identified 8 as possible based on allegations that they were getting directly from schools and that we would pass along when we got them. And the fact finder said there may be as many as 12. But again, we don't have all the complete data or information, but we had enough that the fact finder was able to deliver a report for action at this time. As more information comes in, there may be more action that's necessary. Maybe new information comes in that changes some of it. But at this point, the facts that are known are what have been acted on.
And is it safe to say that it was falsifying addresses? Is that what was taking place? I've also heard there's a little, I don't know how common it is for our audience. There is an act where a family or a child can claim they're homeless.
Yeah.
And you correct me if I'm wrong, if they're homeless, they can attend any school they would like, correct?
Yeah, it's called McKinney-Vento. It's a federal act, and the intent of it is to help students and families in crisis, in need.
Sure.
And it is for all the right reasons. And so, a lot of focus has come on the fact that a lot of these transfers claim McKinney-Vento. The issue isn't with McKinney-Vento. The issue is that either students gave information that has proven to be false. The fact of the matter, OSPI did their own McKinney-Vento investigation, so we don't want to speak to that. But one of the outcomes that they shared is they believe that McKinney-Vento was used for recruiting purposes. Mm-hmm. What we focused on was there recruiting activity, and did the people responsible, like under our Rule 28 for the system and enforcement of this self-governing, do their due diligence in their duty. And those were the findings that the board acted on. So, yeah, there's no doubt there probably are students that are involved in McKinney-Vento, but at the same time, you have to give appropriate addresses. And if you're truly homeless, that's part of that address sharing. And of course, that makes sense. But if you're giving addresses that can be proven not to be factual, that's an issue.
And again, just for the audience, layman terms, some were using this act, this homeless act, as a way to get into the school, and in some cases may not even have been homeless, just using it to actually get enrollment to Ed Roosevelt.
Yeah, that was part of the original accusations, and again, OSPI really looked into that, and they shared that was their belief. Our focus was more on, was there recruiting, and were the rules followed? And so that, we're not the ones to judge whether they're doing their McKinney-Vento process properly. That's an OSPI issue. That's a federal funding issue.
Okay.
They take care of that. But yes, a lot of the students did come in under that as McKinney-Vento, or notice that as part of the reason for transfer.
Describe in part of the punishment. The football team has been banned for postseason for this upcoming season. They forfeited all games played by ineligible players the past 2 years. That wipes out their 3A semifinals game there against Bellevue. Also in the report, it says the athletic department is on probation for 3 years. So that's the entire athletic department that involves all the sports that, you know, and they had nothing to do with football. What does that mean for the other sports, Mick?
Yeah, basically puts people on notice like, hey, make sure you know the rules and make sure you follow the rules. And if you need help understand the rules, like our office, we're more than willing to go out and work with our member schools, right? That's our job. But what it does is it puts them on notice that, hey, you can't plead ignorance to the rules. Like, you got to know them, which is already should be an understanding. And if there are violations in our penalty matrix in our handbook, there's 3 different levels that this, would potentially jump to a higher penalty to start, a level 2 or a level 3 based on being already put on notice that you need to make sure if you have new students that you follow the process. You need to make sure you're not scheduling extra games, all the things you need to make sure you're not coaching out of season, that if there's other violations within that athletic program that the adults there are responsible for, that the penalties could be more drastic than what would typically happen on a first-time offender.
Mick, on a personal level, someone that's been around high school athletics almost their entire life, on a personal level, who, again, is the executive director of a governing body here in our state, how does this make you feel, this type of story?
I mean, honestly, it sucks. This is not why we want to do this. We like run the state tournaments and watching teams celebrate, and it's really disappointing when you see what appears to be blatant and willful violations of rules, and them not addressed in the way that is the expectation of the rules in the membership. And so it's very unfortunate that we're having to spend our time, just like the postseason. There's kids on that team that will be impacted that maybe didn't even know or had any control of this. And, that's why it's a 1 year. And so, this isn't why, this is what we're a governance agency. The association started in 1905 because local high schools were starting to play each other, and, towns were starting to play each other, and the adults were jumping in the games, and they're like, hey, this isn't fair. We need rules. We need somebody to be able to enforce the rules. So it started off as a volunteer organization, didn't formalize until the 30s. So went almost 30 years of voluntarily supervising each other. And then as it expanded, we formalized, and now we have this. So that's our core mission, is to provide competitive equity. And we want the underdog stories, but you got to do it by the rules.
Before you go, I'd be remiss not to ask you this. As someone who lives in the Ballard neighborhood, and you know where I'm going with this, there was obviously some upset folks and parents associated with the Ballard baseball program. Yep. Of what transpired in Yakima with the state semifinals. The semifinal games on Friday got pushed. There was an extra inning game that just kind of pushed all the games down the schedule. Ended up being where the game on Friday with Lake Washington and Puyallup could not be finished because of a lighting issue, thus had to be restarted or resumed, I should say, on Saturday. And then thus, though, the schools like Ballard, Gig Harbor, others could not play in their consolation games. And obviously, and you know this, and you've talked about this, parents were very upset. I want to go back. Looking back on the situation, is there anything that you and the WIAA could have done better? And I'll just be honest with you. I'll say this. I think you guys could have done something better. And I know you guys exhausted efforts to do it. And I know you guys care about the kids and the student athletes, because I think what transpired on Friday, that I disagreed with some of their anger, and I get they were angry, was, well, the WIAA doesn't care. And I said, no, that's not true. These people work tirelessly behind the scenes to put these events on, and there's a million events going on. They care about the kids. But like all of us, I mean, we're not perfect. No one's perfect. And you can always learn from, instances like this. And I'm just wondering, looking back now, having a couple of weeks to process all of it, is there anything that the organization could have done better in resolving that issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that we're aware of is when we show up that the day before and we're setting up, to recheck to make sure all the equipment is working, scoreboards, lights, etc. There's a lot of rumors on this thing. So for clarity, number one, people say, well, they knew there was a light issue. There wasn't a light issue. They had a district game. A kid hit one of the poles down the line. They came out Tuesday. Electricians fixed that. They had everything operational. Matter of fact, on Monday, when they went out there to fix the light in the back, the lights that didn't come on, they were all on and started working again, was the report we got. So there was something there that we were unaware of, and including the people on the ground. The other issue is there's well, why are we playing there and not the other ones? So, we have to wait till the major league schedule comes out each year, and we have a bid process. And that once the major league schedule comes out, then we start looking for the minor league sites. So like Cheney was not available. Giza this year was not available. So teams were their main tenants, the minor league teams were there. So then we also send it out to the universities. We send it out to the community colleges, and we send it out to really nice high school stadiums, because we got to have a place to play the games. And in this case, like the UWs, the Wazoos, the Gonzagas, they can't commit in advance because they're hoping they're playing in postseason and their fields won't be available. So unless we change to, like my understanding is what Oregon just did, is they knew the week of where they're going to play. So that's something we will go back to our coach association and schools with. Are you okay with baseball if the universities would make themselves available once they know their teams are out, to be able to get that, and can we do that logistically? So we're going to review that process, because the reason we found that out in Oregon is we were hearing the complaints about not knowing where they were going until the last minute. So we've always been under the assumption our membership wants advance, but baseball being unique because of the field availability, maybe that's something we can do better. The other one was finding another site, and County Stadium said no, they weren't available. The local high schools we had, local ADs are working the event for us, and they're like, our fields are not to a state count. We haven't been doing all the things we've been doing. So they tried throughout the valley to find a spot. And on top of it, I was quoted in a local paper recently. They got part of the quote, like, the worst thing about this whole thing is that those teams that lost, that showed up with the expectation of state events, weren't able to bring closure to their season, which a lot of times in a lot of sports, people don't like those consolation games. But for teams and students playing, it's a chance to finish together, that high school experience for the seniors especially, but for all of them as a team that last time. And to have that taken away after losing, whether you expect to win state championship or you just have to be there, that sucks. Yeah. I mean, that's horrible. And that's why, in the hour and a half that we had to try to come up with plan B. So what we're looking at is, what can we do in advance? Is it possible to have those other fields prepped? That's something once we know that weather is not going to be an issue, we really focus on the contest at hand. So that's maybe something that we can do for some type of mechanical issue. So yeah, it was terrible. So that's a lesson we want to do.
Yeah. Mick, I appreciate your time. A lengthy chat, lots to cover with you. You're always gracious with your time, and I always appreciate it. And thank you for doing it.
You bet. And I appreciate you, asking the hard questions as well as the opportunity to explain things. So, again, our goal is to provide long-time positive experiences, and unfortunately, we're dealing with a couple that won't go that way. But that's sometimes the work that has to be done.
Yep, exactly. There he is, Mick Hoffman, the executive director of the WIAA, here on Puck Sports and pucksports.com. And again, a lengthy chat there with Mick Hoffman, again, the executive director there of the WIAA, talking about the situation with Roosevelt High School, the investigation into the high school, what led to the football sanctions. I mean, pretty severe football sanctions that came down on Roosevelt. I'm curious, I've heard, through some other, I guess, back channels and other families of other sports, that kids that maybe were going to try and go there now no longer going to go to school there based on what has transpired there at Roosevelt. And we talked about this last week. It's something that has been going on in high school sports forever. kids enrolling and transferring in all the time. Certainly an issue with other Seattle public schools and the private schools as well. So it's not like what Roosevelt has done is something that hasn't been going on. To the depth of it, the amount of it, I mean, it was pretty severe of how many kids were coming in. And I think what ultimately got Roosevelt caught here, and they just were open about it. They weren't hiding it of how many kids that they were bringing in. But it's just an issue when adults are just, and people that are there for education, like the principal, the athletic director, that knew what was going on. And again, by the way, the principal has been placed on administrative leave. Paid to be in charge, to look out for all students. And when you've used athletics now as the winning at all costs, that be a bigger issue for your school rather than, doing what's right. It's usually the adults, not the kids. It's always the adults there are the ones to blame. So a lengthy daily puck drop here today, but I wanted to get that in because didn't want it to be too far removed from what transpired last week. So big thanks to Mick Hoffman for that extended visit discussing that and also what happened there with the 3A playoffs. And I think that, it's hard. It's hard what they do. They get a bad rap sometimes. There's not enough people that work there. They work their tails off behind the scenes. I hope people understand that. They're trying to do what is best for the athletes in this state. They really, really are. They are undermanned, though. And so it's hard to do everything right, and they're not going to be perfect. I think what transpired for the baseball playoffs will make them better. And I think eventually they'll have a venue or try to find venues that are better suited for the high school playoffs and for all playoffs. I think they've hit a gold mine with UW in football. It's perfect. It's great. I know there was going to be issues with it, but I've been there the last 2 years and they've knocked it out of the ballpark. All right, let's wrap up today's daily puck drop with Hey What the Puck, brought to you by our good friends at Restoration One. It is your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com. North Seattle franchise. Going back to the Julio discussion with Bill Krueger, and again, if you missed it, the live to Bill Krueger on the podcast, again on YouTube and all podcast platforms, talked a lot about Julio. I don't think they made a mistake with Julio paying him at such an early age. I would disagree to a point there with Bill on that one. It's a trend. You want to lock them up. It is a very team-friendly deal, if you really think about it, of what they potentially would have had to pay him if it was, he was just putting seasons after seasons that were just incredible, like those first two. He would have been really costly. If he doesn't hit all these incentives in his contract, you're looking at a contract that's over like $200 million for like 12 years. And when you look back on it, you're like, that's a bargain for him. I don't think the contract has taken the fire away from him. Has he become the player that we all thought? No, I said that with Bill. I don't think he's become the great elite superstar that I think a lot of people envision him being. Most importantly, it's the player that he envisions himself. And not yet. And I think it's okay to say that. I think he would admit that he has not achieved that greatness that he is trying to accomplish at this point in his career, at least. Thing about him, you can argue he plays hard. He plays the game the right way. He plays it with passion. He's a great teammate. Great with the fans. He's great with everybody. But there is a level of expectation that has been placed on him at an early age. And again, he's still early, and he can come through with that. And he can become that player. But it might take him a little bit longer to do that. He might not ever become that great player. He might be a very good player. But the hope for this organization and why they gave him that contract, it was not to be a very good player, it was to be a great player. That is still out there. That quest to be a great player is still out there for Julio, and I still think it's within reach for him. And I don't think that you should be overly concerned yet with it. It's still within reach, but it's, as seasons go by and we keep going further down, more questions will remain. And it's okay to question. All right, that's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Give them a call. Those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks for everyone watching and listening today. Thank you to our sponsors, Limbeck Lumber, Clean Streak, Georgetown Brewery, Restoration One. Find today's Daily Puck Drop on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel when you're there. Also find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms. And, of course, always up at pucksports.com. When you're at pucksports.com, sign up to be a member of the Pucks Posse. $5 a month is all it costs you. You get all the free content we do. In addition to the free content, bonus shows as well. Our baseball coverage with our MLB insider, Ryan Divish. Sports Pit with KJR alums, Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson. That's going to come out later tonight, by the way. Also, Mitchie the Kid, when I don't have technical problems, he joins us during the live show on Thursdays, and then his podcast segment goes just for Pucks Posse members. Fingers crossed nothing happens this week. And, of course, Garage with Gas, Take 5 podcast, comes out later today on all podcast platforms and YouTube. And, of course, at pucksports.com. Thank you for watching and listening. As always, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Jim Duquette, John Canzano on the program. Until then, I promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!